Final session of the day, one that is dear to my heart, entitled Know Your AABCs. This is the second installment of the session, whose aim is to provide transparency regarding the standing committees of the Alumni Association of Barnard College. This year, we are pleased to present an additional three: the Professional and Leadership Development Committee, the Regional Clubs and Networks Committee, and the Young Alumnae Committee. I designed this session to deliver much-needed clarity regarding the AABC and its working bodies, knowing that even if the names of some of these committees were generally recognized, their functions perhaps were not. And without an understanding of the crucial role that each of them play, it can be difficult to identify a best fit as a volunteer. And I want each of you to have that experience of the perfect fit at Barnard so that you can continue to enrich us all with your talents. By the end of my term as chair, we will have presented all of the standing committees that make up the AABC. In addition to lending transparency, it's important to me that you leave with an understanding of how you may play a role on these committees, now and in the future. Each year, new volunteers bring fresh perspectives to the work with which they are charged. And as you listen to these presentations today, I'd like you to ask yourselves, where do you think you fit? Where would you feel at home? And in what way can you share your unique talents to uplift the mission of Barnard College? And as you consider these things, I'd like you to know just how much we would value your contributions and your commitment, whether you are an experienced or incoming volunteer. I want you to remember that we are, all of us, here and across the globe, the Alumni Association of Barnard College. This year, we highlight the purpose, the goals, and the work of each of these committees. We will hear from Julie Malyn Melwani, class of 2009, chair of the Professional and Leadership Development Committee, P.J. Douglas Sands, class of 1998, chair of the Regional Clubs and Networks Committee, who is here all the way to see us from Houston. Yes. And Alyss Vavricka, class of 2012, and chair of the Young Alumnae Committee. And before we do, I'd like to introduce Jyoti Menon, class of 2001, and president of the AABC.
All right, thank you, Hilary, for the introduction and, of course, the outstanding direction and leadership of the Leadership Assembly Committee. I know just for all of you that are here, I want to recognize all the work that she and the entire committee do to really think about what happens here, what we should be talking about, what could be of interest to you. We've already gotten some good positive feedback about some of the content we're giving you in the bags, about what the ABC is, what the committees are, and really it's her vision to bring together sessions like this so that all of you know what we do throughout the year and what we do to try to bring alumni together. So thank you to her. Again, another special, And of course, another extra special shout out to Kelly, who we all know really make this happen for us. So for those of you who don't know Kelly, she's back there and I'm happy to embarrass her. Better her than me. When I say really thank you for everything that you do for Barnard here especially, and I know for sure on a personal level you make my life so much easier. If you only knew how much they do to make sure I don't stand up here like a total moron. So thank you. And then without fail, all of you for being here, spending your Friday with us, doing all that you do for Barnard, whether it's coming to sessions like this, meeting with your fellow alumni, friends and family, giving to Barnard, all of that. We know there are many other causes, interests, things that may take you away from this campus, but it's always a treat to be here and see all of you. So thank you for that. So before I hand it over to the different chairs who, again, put a lot of time and effort into what they do for all of us. I just want to give you a sense of, it's crazy to think this is my last year as president. So in my last year, I just want to give you a sense of, what are some of the things I'm thinking about for this year, and hopefully some will carry beyond my term, as far as what I think is really important for us to do and is personally important to me. So one thing you've probably heard me talk about a lot is the idea of being a Barnard ambassador. And this is really one of these venues where you could really learn a lot about Barnard and take everything you learn here and take it out to your community. So when you're out meeting your other Barnard alumni friends, you can go and talk to them about the programs that Sion talked to us about today, about what Ariana was saying about diversity and equity and inclusion, about the work that we're doing, about giving, all of that. So I really see each and every one of you as truly being an ambassador for us and for Barnard. So that's really a big focus area of mine. And for those who are on the Alumni Association board, I try to bring that to our meetings as well, where we try to bring different leadership from Barnard. In fact, at our next meeting, Ariana is going to come and talk to us so we get a little bit more insight into what she's working on, and so that we too can go and take that out. So that's been really important for me for the last few years, and hopefully that will continue going forward. The second thing is, I know we've heard about it this morning, is participation and giving to the college, and I cannot emphasize enough that really every dollar counts, and it's really about that percentage. So if you're getting questions about, I can only give $10 or $20, like really, really think about it. It's absolutely 110% not about the dollar amount. It's absolutely about taking that 5 minutes of time online, writing that small check of whatever you're comfortable with. It's really important to the college, and it really shows people outside of Barnard how much our alumni value what we got here at Barnard and what we want to continue to give back. So I really hope that all of you consider giving a gift yourselves, and of course asking your friends to do the same. And really, don't be shy about the amount. That's absolutely not what's the most important. That being said, I will happily take a $25 million check for Barnard. I hear all shall need some work. So, but the last thing is really around increasing the engagement of alumni. So as I've been president, what's been great is seeing a lot of familiar faces that I've seen from when I was a student, from when I've been a volunteer, and I've gotten to know over the years, which is incredible. But I think what I'd love to see more of is other alumni here as well, where there are other alumni that are getting involved with Barnard, so that as we think about our pipeline of leadership and those involved, and going back to the diversity conversation earlier, how are we bringing many more alumni together? So again, I challenge all of you to think about, who are your Barnard friends who maybe you can invite back to an event. The film festival is in February. It's a great way to come back, right, to campus, which, yeah, Daphne, 10th year, which, we love, and is a really fun way to be back on campus and really be part of the community, and then consider getting involved, which is, I think, really good transition into the next piece, where we'll talk and meet, again, Julie, PJ, and Alyss about the work that they do, and think about if those are committees you could be interested in, or other class officer things, and really build a really strong community around giving back to Barnard and engaging. So with all that being said, thank you again for all that you do for Barnard. And I'm going to turn it over, I think, to Julie first. If I didn't mess that up, come on up. See, that's why I need Kelly to give me all the notes.
Hi, I'm Julie Malyn Melwani. I'm the chair of the Professional and Leadership Development Committee. Really excited to be here and tell you a little bit more about what we are about here. So the, textbook mission for PLDC is that we aim to provide alumni and students with information and provoke thought and discussion on career issues and career choices. So kind of vague there. So I thought I'd give a little piece of what I like to see the committee do and kind of what I also see as their mission. So first and foremost, providing alumni with professional development and training opportunities that aren't available through their jobs. A lot of the people, particularly who are on our committee, work for certain employers who have a whole training curriculum. They have these sort of opportunities available to them, but your employer understandably is not going to, let's say, teach you about how to use a recruiter to get your next opportunity. So that's something that we want to deliver that they can't get wherever it is that they're working. capture opportunities to collaborate with other committees beyond Barnard and other special interest groups like the Athena Center. I'll get to who's on the committee later, but we have representation from beyond Barnard and the Athena Center, which has been a great partnership for us, and we're able to leverage resources across all of those groups. Maintain a diverse committee with diversity of background, thoughts, and interests to deliver the best experiences for our diverse alumni community. It's something that's really important to me. So looking back at what we did in the last fiscal year, we delivered a flexible and remote work panel over webinar. We thought it'd be a nice way to deliver that kind of session, to do that remotely, and that was pretty successful. We had a workshop here on campus about imposter syndrome. This was a topic that came up numerous times in our committee, and so we had to imagine it was something that the rest of the Barnard community was interested in, and they were. And then, as I just kind of referenced, we had a panel on recruiters, LinkedIn, and a successful job search, which we actually hosted at LinkedIn headquarters. It was really popular, maybe partially because it was free. I think it was also the LinkedIn aspect. We had 70 people attending and a very eager wait list as well for that event. Some of the things that we're thinking about for this year coming up: in November, we're going to do a workshop on generations in the workplace. I think not a day goes by that we don't see something in the press about the workplace and millennials and Gen Z. So how do we kind of boil all of that down and figure out how we can be most effective in the workplace, working with 4 generations in the workplace right now? Given everything going on in the world and the election year that's coming up soon, doing something along the lines, we haven't really fully fleshed this out yet, around what politics can teach us about leadership. We're still kind of figuring out how we want to do that. And then something on the power of mentoring, another topic that's just come up over and over again that's so important to all of us, so we're imagining it's important to the rest of the Barnard community. And then we'll also try to deliver a webinar at some point, since we've really liked that format, and it's a way for us to reach a broader audience of alumni. So why PLDC? And I was asked to cover this in my presentation, which I have a little bit of a hard time doing because it's so obvious. Of course you're interested in all of this. What I really like about this committee is that it continues the Barnard tradition of developing and growing us as individuals. You get that academically when you're at Barnard. I know Barnard's made such a great push through Beyond Barnard to prepare students for the workplace, but it doesn't just end there. You can access Beyond Barnard when you're an alum, and then you also have the resources of this great committee. I was also asked to characterize our committee members. The best way that I can just define everyone in the group is extremely busy. So we're all people who are, head first, really involved in our careers, and it's something that we're interested in. It makes scheduling meetings for this group to be particularly challenging, but it's a really enthusiastic group about these sort of topics. I also really like that this committee serves across different demographics of Barnard alums. I came from the Young Alumnae Committee. As of this past reunion, I'm no longer a young alum, so I love that this delivers across different audiences. You can be a young alum, you can be in Project Continuum, you can be in any other committee or affiliated with other group, and this still might resonate with you, the things that we're covering. We are looking for new members. We have some spots open, so if anyone's interested and this speaks to you, we would definitely love to have a conversation with you about it. And then a special thank you, and we only have one person here, but I'll read out in case I missed someone here. Our committee members: Jennifer Cowan, Marissa Greason, Eunice Hong, Christine Maloney, Morgan Sessoms, Lisa Vance, and Anna Ward. And then our Barnard staff, as I mentioned, we're lucky to not only have Ann Goldberg from the Alumnae office, but also have Victoria Gordon from the Athena Center and Christine Shin from Beyond Barnard help us out on that committee. I also want to give a special thank you to Anna, because she plays a really critical role in connecting us to BNET, which is Barnard Entrepreneurs Network. It's another way that we can find great collaboration across multiple groups of alums. And with that, I think that's it for me for regional clubs. I know there's a Q&A. Like I said, people on PLDC are very busy. I actually have to run back to the office. But if anyone has any questions about PLDC, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to talk more about this. And I'm very sorry that I have to run out so abruptly. But PJ, on regional.
Good afternoon. So the mission of the Regional Clubs and Networks Committee is to develop programming and seek new ways of strengthening the network of alumni in the United States and overseas to facilitate our contacts with each other and with the college. What does that mean? Well, ultimately, as the Regional Clubs and Networks Chair, my goal continues to be more synergy among the regional leaders with regular communication to share ideas. We talked about quarterly Zoom calls and working closely with the Alumni Relations Liaison. We want to utilize tools like the beautiful Bold Barnard Alumni Facebook group, LinkedIn, and more real-time communication among regional leaders. I would love to have us with an ease of duplicating programming, events, and activities that work for different age groups across regional clubs with best practices, as well as simple event templates that we can duplicate. We want to definitely create more Barnard ambassadors in local communities who are active at college fairs, recruiting, interviewing, volunteering, and mentoring in support of initiatives like Beyond Barnard. We want to increase camaraderie among local alumni through engaging events and activities to keep us more connected to the college, no matter the age, for succession planning in regional clubs. We want to encourage giving, as Jyoti mentioned, whether it be monetary, mentoring, or giving your time to volunteer. And ultimately, as Regional Clubs and Networks Chair, we want to connect Barnard alumni with outstanding AABC programming that might work for a regional club, like the Alma Mater's Virtual Book Club or PLDC's Entrepreneurship Network, that we can participate in webinars or duplicate those events in cities around the globe, not just in the tri-state area. So, currently, we have about 35 active regional clubs with consistent interest in starting new ones from both new and current alumni volunteers. 7 of those clubs are international. Clubs range in frequency of events based on each city's alumni population. This month alone, for instance, there are more than 10 clubs that are hosting events. Ultimately, the Barnard Regional Clubs strive to connect Barnard alumni to each other and to the college, keep local alumni informed about the current life of the college, and celebrate the accomplishments of students, faculty, and alumni. So, as the Regional Clubs and Network Chair, I'm in a rather unique position. As was mentioned earlier, I do not live in the tri-state area. Many regional leaders plan our program independently. Some work in teams, and each club is run separately, deciding on programming and event pricing based on their area's alumni population. Our regional clubs span many different time zones, local cultures, and demographics, and our event audiences vary depending on the time of day of the week, or even the weather. Since graduation way back in 1998, I've greatly benefited from connecting with alumni in the Caribbean, where I worked, in the UK, where I went to law school, and now in my new home in Houston. Across the U.S. and internationally, regional clubs are vitally important in engaging alumni outside the tri-state area, which make up half of our alumni population, so that we continue to fellowship and connect with each other, collaborate, network, and celebrate each other as Barnard women. I look forward to continuing to work more closely with AABC Board and the individual regional clubs to enhance our programming, create unique experiences, and foster togetherness with the college from each point on the globe where a Barnard alumna might be. If you're interested in participating in a regional club, we would love to have you. So definitely we have 45 members of the Regional Clubs and Networks Committee at current, so I'm not going to list them all, but I would like to invite all who are present to please stand when you hear your name so that you may be recognized for your outstanding contribution in support of Barnard College. Brenda Clark, class of 80. Sharon Deisenhus, class of 83. Marcy Levely, class of 2010. Kira Nurelli, class of 96. Emily Palmer, class of 2007. Elaine Tom, class of 77. Nancy Vignette, class of 1970. Peggy Wang, class of 1990. Elizabeth Westcott, class of 72. And I would also love to thank Lacey Beck, class of 2014, who is very instrumental in helping us in all that we do with the regional chairs. Please, Lacey, thank you so much for all of your support. Please welcome Alyss from Young Alumni Committee.
Oh, thank goodness it's here too. Okay, that's good. Hi, so my name is spelled really funny. I was named after the song For Alyss, which is also my Instagram handle, but my mom, I think, thought she could spell it better. So it's Alyss, so I'll just clear that up right off the bat. I chair the Young Alumni Committee, and I typically don't, if you've ever seen me speak at these events, I don't prepare words, and so this is the first time I've actually had something properly prepared beforehand. So we'll see how I do with slides. The first one, they did ask me to include the mission statement, and I don't really want to spend too much time on that because I think you can all guess what our general mission is. The one thing that might not be super clear is that we actually are really trying to focus on our engagement, not just with young alums, but also with students. If you were at the State of the College, that was something that I asked about and something that the second Sion got to campus, I was so excited to talk to her about. And then also just alums across all different cohorts. I have loved sitting on the AABC Board and coming to events like this largely because of the women that I have gotten to meet, and it's my goal to make sure that you don't have to be a committee chair in order to have that benefit, because that's not the point. So our 2020 vision reflects that international reach. We have a Barnard in Your Backyard event coming up where we do have a few alums in Spain that are planning on gathering. So if you know any other international events, let me know, or any international alums you want to host, let me know. Low, no-cost programming is tough because we have a limited budget, and planning all the events we want to do on that front is very difficult. So that's something that I think is a future focus of ours. And then, as I mentioned, the other types of events. But here I wanted to really emphasize the phenomenal growth that we have seen as a committee over the past few years. A lot of this, I do not want to take the full credit of this, and I even can't give my committee the full credit of this. A lot of this does reflect broader changes in alumni relations and how we handle alumni outreach. But I will have to, toot my committee's horn and say, I mean, come on, guys. Systemic changes only do so much. So what this really reflects is a switch that we did. So I came on, this is my last year I'm rolling off. I got an extra year as an interim chair. So I started in fiscal year 17. So, things go down in a transition year, it happens. But going forward, what we really have focused on, and I'm looking at Jennifer a lot here because she's on the committee, is a lot of repeated events. Because how can you do things easily? By having the same thing over and over. I mean, it's like Christmas, it's easy to do family Christmas even when things are crazy. It's not that easy, but you know what you're gonna do. You need to get the tree or the menorah or whatever it is around the holidays. And so we've been doing that, and we switch them up. We do different type of fall fitness events. We have our Barnard in Backyard series, and the idea is pushing off responsibility from the limited number of people sitting on the committee. And also one thing that I think more broadly we've been adopting among alumni planning groups is that it doesn't make sense for every member of the committee to talk about everything. Quite frankly, I don't even personally care that much about some events we do relative to others. That's just a fact of the matter. And so I don't want to make alums on the committee talk about events that they don't care about. That's a waste of everybody's time. And so I went to Quaker school, so I always joke that making a committee is the most natural thing that I can do. We work in subcommittees, which I think is also how we've been able to be so effective. So that is not even a fully exhaustive list, and right now our biggest concern is whether we can afford the events, but we're actually looking at more maybe 11 to 12 events this year. So the real crux of this, I know I need to keep my time condensed, but with this one, I want to get up here because I feel like I'm talking to you guys more closely. So I put these three photos because I searched Barnard photos when I was turning this in super last minute and preparing it in a card to another Barnard thing. And these photos came up, and I just loved it because this is the first Barnard building. This is the Barnard I knew when I first came to campus, and the Magnolia, which fingers crossed this one seems to be taking. Sorry, I assumed I was loud enough for you to hear me. I'm really loud. So, and then we've got our new Barnard, and the big thing is, throughout all of my time on the board and just talking to people, there's always this little bit of struggle with change. and the change that some people want and the change that others don't want. And I just really wanted to convey that like our committee has seen so much change, and the biggest change is the types of people we have on it, the types of ideas we have on it. There's butting heads, which I want. That's a good thing because you want diverse thought, and not bad butting heads, but you know, people disagree, and that means you've got a good group of people. Barnard is the most beautiful example of like change is painful, because my boyfriend once explained this to me when I was having a really hard time about a year ago. Change hurts because a part of you is dying. Like you're never going to be the same again. And so there is a loss there. We're never going to have the same old magnolia tree, and we're never going to have the same old buildings. But God, look at what we have now. And so that's the big thing that I'm keeping in mind with young alum involvement. We have to change our approach, because our young alums, I don't even feel like I fully understand all of the women in my cohort, just a few years younger than me. But the big thing with that is, honestly, when you look at the women running this committee, I mean, come on. So this is what I wanted to lead to. When you change and focus on getting the right women involved and giving these, so most of these women, I actually am one of the few people on my committee without a graduate degree, which I found really funny. When you look at these women, most of them would never normally have any time to accomplish, or think they would have the time to accomplish what we've been able to accomplish over the last few years. But Barnard now, after they graduated, has given them this ability. And in my last job interview process, highly supported by Beyond Barnard, might I add, I actually talked way more about my role as committee chair than I have about any of my other job experiences, which is crazy. And so I guess my big thing with this committee is that young alums are just so key for so many reasons, but I'm really excited to give all of them a chance to benefit the way I have, and to benefit the way my committee members have. And on that note, the one I mentioned here is one of the ones that I would really want to give special attention to. Jennifer Fearon is just above and beyond. Like, my family knows who she is because they're like, oh, she's the really enthusiastic one on the committee, right? Because ever since she got on the committee, I always joked, like, she's just so enthusiastic. It's wonderful. And I just can't wait to see what Jennifer and a lot of these other young women are going to do in the future. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So what we wanted to do now, so first of all, thanks to all of you for sharing your, well, now both of you, we don't have Julie, but for sharing your experiences and more about your committee. What we wanted to do was see if anyone here had any questions for them, for me, for maybe on another committee that couldn't speak, but happy to take questions now, but I feel like I have to give this mic to someone. Any questions? Go ahead.
Can you just go over how to get more involved in these committees or others, for those of us who aren't aware?
Yeah, there's many ways. So one is you can definitely reach out to the office. I think it's alumni relations at barnard.edu. Yes, I got it right. So that's one way to get just generally involved, to find out if committees have roles, because it's a cycle and there's only so many committee seats per committee. So I think this one, for example, might be full, but Julie mentioned she might be looking for committee members, so that is not full. Yeah, there's a wait list for Young Alumni Committee apparently. So yes, that would be the way to do it. And then as far as sort of the bigger, like becoming a committee chair or something like that, we have a whole nominating process that happens once a year. And then also don't forget, if it's not a committee that's available right now, there's also other ways, like class officer, again, going to events, helping plan an event, maybe you have a cool office space, things like that. So don't feel like you have to be on the committee to work with them. Any other questions? None? Wow. Oh, right here, I think. Oh, is there another?
Hi, Suzanne Samuelson from Class of 72. And this is kind of to the Young Alumni Committee. So I was on the M60 from LaGuardia Airport the other day, and we were stuck in traffic, and there was all kinds of conversations going on. And one gal across from me said she went to college in New York, and at some point she looked Barnard to me, younger than I am. And I said, you said you went to school in the city, where did you go? And she said, Columbia. So I said, Barnard 72. And she said, I did go to Barnard, but no one knows when I say Barnard. So if this is, I don't mean this as anything, but is it something that you address, or it really, yeah.
That actually,
got it.
I fortunately have, I'm not going to lean on this too hard, man, long day. Long day. So I don't find that too often, and I know that when I talk to folks, my personal approach is, if you're a man who just moved to New York from like Atlanta, I'll probably say Columbia, because I don't feel like if I'm in a professional situation, it's not my job to hijack the situation with my love of Barnard. But most of the time, I tend to say Barnard first. I think that it can be circumstantial. If it was you, I definitely would have said Barnard first, but I haven't found that to be so much of an issue. I find young alums and even like students do ask about this. And what I always advise them is, if you're talking to someone where you think that they're gonna, like if they're doing it for any other reason other than I don't feel like explaining Barnard to someone who doesn't know, like you shouldn't be talking to that person. And I don't mean that sarcastically. It's kind of like how with job hunting, like if you feel really uncomfortable in a job interview, you probably don't want that job, like that, you know. So that's how I always advise them, and that's what I would suggest, you know, don't hate on them if they say Columbia first. There's a lot of practical situations where I do that because of logical Barnard loving, you know, different reasons. But I think some of them, I'm not sure. I haven't run into too many of those. But I think it's about explaining that you know, if people have an issue with that, they're not the people you want to be working with or interacting with.
Yeah, and to add to that, oh, sorry, you probably can't hear me. And just to add to that, I know in, you know, Beyond Barnard, or I've definitely told mentees that in their LinkedIn and things like that, to make sure they're writing Barnard and Columbia. I personally, if someone reaches out to me and like wants to talk to me and doesn't have Barnard on their LinkedIn and they went to Barnard, I'm less likely to put them on my agenda.
And
but I'm slightly biased, so.
On that note, I would ask that all of you, and you make sure that any that you're talking to, you make sure you have Barnard on your LinkedIn, because I know when I'm looking at jobs, like that's the first thing I do, and that's what I advise students to do. Go on LinkedIn, search the company, and look for people who went to Barnard. So that's a fun little thing, a way you can help as well.
Any other questions? No? Wow. We're getting off easy. I like it. Really? No more? 2 questioned out? Okay, maybe I shouldn't poke the bear. Okay, go ahead. I poked the bear.
Connected to the last question that someone asked. So in the case, a few of you said that you do have openings on your committee. Is that posted somewhere? What's the best way for us to connect classmates to committee chairs who are looking for more people?
So 2 things. So one is definitely email the alumni relations at barnard.edu. 2 is we're working on putting a website up, or single page, this is really awkward, sorry, a single page up that has all the different committees and opportunities and groups within alumni relations. Hopefully we're like days and weeks away from that being live. And we're gonna talk about how we, you know, send that out so everyone kind of has a central location. It's something I've always been talking about, because I've had many a coffee with people who are like, hey, I want to get involved in Barnard, what can I do? I'm like, if only there was one central place. But very soon there will be, and it'll give you instruction of who to reach out to specifically for that purpose. And it's not just related to Alumni Association, but also more broadly to that. So it's not out yet, but we're working on it.
And we all stay in touch.
Yeah. And I'm on lots of social media things, so you can find me. And I pretty much only tag Barnard. Yeah. Somewhere. Oh, hey.
Hi. One, excellent to all of you for the work that you're doing. The question is about what led you into the volunteer role you have right now. And then also comment in addition to making it known that these committees exist in the membership, I think it's important to also make clear when vacancies are open and when people should be making that outreach to alumni affairs, to the committee chairs, to know what time of year, on what frequency, that sort of information, because it's like applying to any other job and we have to demystify the process.
Yeah, so on the second point, really great idea. I don't know if folks in the back who really do all the work here heard that. Was Matt's giving me a thumbs up, so that's good. And so that's a really great point, because I think I'm like, oh yeah, I think it's at this time of year, and then I go between like Barnard's fiscal year and the real calendar year, and I get confused. So if I'm confused, then clearly many other people are. As far as, was your question how we got involved? Is that, yeah. So I can go real quick, then I'll let these ladies go as well, because, so I've always been involved with Barnard. I don't think I remember a time in my life when I wasn't involved. I started as a student where I did the whole president of student government thing, and then I kind of got sucked in, frankly, and just kind of made my way through different committees, like Young Alumni Committee I used to chair, Alumni Trustee, I got involved with Athena, so on and so forth. So, and I've always loved Barnard. People have joked with me, like, you need to find a dorm room up here because you're here too much. But that's kind of how I made the journey through, but I'll let these guys go.
For me, I think my Barnard experience created the woman that I am today. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I feel like I was very active on campus. One would wonder if I spent more time in clubs and organizations than I spent in the classroom. So I think that my experience framing who I am, especially being a woman of color, first generation American, originally from the Caribbean, I felt an obligation to ensure that the lives that I touch in mentoring and volunteering, Barnard is on the table as an option to young women, as well as the exposure and the influence that my Barnard experience has had for me. I continue to share it. So after a young lady, many of you may know, Lisa Lynn, who's class of 98, kind of got me and one of my girlfriends, Ellen, on the phone and was like, okay, it's time for you to elevate your Barnard game. We totally took up the challenge with a smile. And I want to definitely encourage, and that's one of the reasons why in Regional Club, it is definitely important to me for people to identify the fact that they in their local community can make a difference. You can have 3 women from Barnard that live in your town, but you can get together, have coffee, go to a college fair, interview people who are interested, and share the message. And I felt personally I was doing the universe a disservice by not making that part of my primary volunteerism focus. So I wanted to share that as a kind of a testimony of what this can do for you as an empowerment opportunity to your local community. And it doesn't have to be some huge contribution. It can be your small contribution in your way, but you will always positively affect a change and brighten someone when they didn't realize that this was a possibility. For people in my situation, when I told people when I was going to high school in Texas that I was even applying to colleges outside of Texas, they were like, why would you do that? So to be here and what I've learned and the people I've met, I think this is something that we have to be ambassadors about, and I'm passionate about it, and by you being here, I'm sure that you're passionate about it too. Oh, there's a question? Alyss? Oh, I didn't know if she had a question for me or if it was...
I have a specific question for you.
Sure.
If people in a particular part of the country wanted to set up a regional club, is there a go-to primer for this? Is there a cheat sheet that you provide? I mean, how would they go about it?
Definitely. We can give you the email address where you can email in your information to Lacey and Felice. And it's very easy to start your local club. It can be you of one or you of many, and start having activities. For us in Houston, we kind of just got it going in a matter of weeks, and it's been a great opportunity. So definitely talk to them in the back of the room, or you can talk to me.
Oh, here we go. You're fast. My question is for clubs, are they only based on region, or is there a precedent for having affinity group-based clubs? For example, I was involved with BOSS when I was on campus. BOSS and Mujeres are very popular cultural-based affinity groups, and there's always whispers and conversations about having a BAC or a culture-based club for alums. So I'm wondering if that's in your wheelhouse and if there's any precedents for it.
Well, I haven't heard anything about it, but Karen can actually speak to that in the back.
shared or Hi. New shared or special interest groups, please let us know. We're very, very happy to do that. I work with Angela Lehman, who's our Associate Director of Alumni Engagement, and one of the many things she works on are our shared interest groups. So you can feel free to email Angela and me, and we're very happy to talk to you about it, and any of you who have new ideas.
All right, so we unfortunately have to wrap it up, but I do want to thank you for all of your questions and conversations, and again to our committee chairs. And what I'm going to do is turn it back over to Hilary to wrap us up and let us know what we're doing next. I hear wine might be in our future.